Psalm 12. O God, you have rejected us. You have broken us. You have been angry. O restore us. You have made the land quake. You have split it open. Heal its breaches, for it totters. You have made your people experience hardship. You have given us wine to drink that makes us stagger. You have given a banner to those who fear you, that it may be displayed because of your truth, that your beloved may be delivered. Save with your right hand and answer us. God has spoken in his holiness. I will exult, I will portion out Shechem and measure out the valley of Succoth. Gilead is mine, and Manasseh is mine. Ephraim also is the helmet of my head. Judah is my scepter, Moab is my washbowl, and over Edom I will throw my shoe. Shout loud, O Philistia, because of me. Who will bring me into the besieged city? Who will lead me to Edom? Have not you yourself, O God, rejected us? And will you not go forth with your armies, with our armies, O God? O give us help against the adversary, for deliverance by man is in vain. Through God we shall do valiantly, and it is he who will tread down our adversaries. So it's pretty obvious what's going on here in this psalm. They just got their heads handed to them in battle, probably against Edom, it seems. And so David writes this psalm to say, what happened, God? Why are you punishing us with a military defeat? Which oftentimes is how God punishes his people, right? He lets them experience defeat in battle. The Lord is our strength. When we turn away from the Lord, we have no strength. That's shown economically, it's shown militarily, it's shown morally, it's shown all these different ways. So that seems to be what's going on here, and this psalm is a conversation between David and God, and he's saying, answer us, and then God goes ahead and answers. Now, there's part of this which is kind of weird, right? That middle section there where he's like naming off all these different places that we're not really familiar with, and he's talking about throwing his shoe over somebody. Like, what is this all about? I want to zero in on that because that's actually where we find the gospel message in the middle of this. So in verse 4, verse 5, he's saying, save us with your right hand and answer us. That's verse 5. Then in verse 6, he answers. God has spoken in his holiness. God says, I will exult. I will portion out Shechem and measure out the valley of Succoth. Now, these two areas, there's Old Testament history behind all of this stuff. I'm just going to run you through and tell you what this means without going into great explanation. Shechem and Succoth are places where the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, where they wound up, especially Abraham and Isaac, wandering and setting up shop and all of this. So later on in the time of Joshua, Israel would kind of retrace those wandering pathways, right? So it's a reference to that. It's God's faithfulness where he's brought the patriarchs and where he has brought Israel, and he's saying, this is still mine. He says, I will portion out Shechem and measure out the valley of Succoth. In other words, I'm still in control of all of this stuff. This land may have been lost to you, Israel, but it has not been lost to me. He said, Gilead is mine. Manasseh is mine. So he's asserting his authority. Even though Israel was defeated, doesn't mean Israel's God was defeated. He says, Ephraim also is a helmet of my head. Ephraim was way up in the north, and they were the first line of defense to guard against invasions coming down into Israel. So Ephraim was to, Israel what a helmet is to a warrior. And God says, that's by design. That's mine right there. I put them there for a certain reason. He says, Judah is my scepter. Scepter is, of course, the symbol of authority. That's where Jerusalem was. That's where the temple was, all of this stuff. So he says, if you want to know about my kingship, you go look at Judah, specifically probably Jerusalem. Or, Bethlehem, where David was born and where Jesus would end up being born. This one's weird. Verse 8, Moab is my washbowl. Over Edom I shall throw my shoe. Shout loud, O Philistia, because of me. That's the Philistines. They were from Philistia. Shout loud, O Philistia, because of me. So Moab is my washbowl. Basically what he's saying there is, these guys are my servants. They bring me my washbowl. When I need to wash my hands, I say, Moab, get over here. And they say, yes, master. And they come and give me my washbowl. They serve me. He says, over Edom I will throw my shoe. In other words, I will put my foot there because I own it. God told Abraham, everywhere you put your foot, I shall give to you. And so now God's saying, I'm putting my foot there. They're mine. I own Edom. Even though they just beat you, they still got to answer to me. And then he says, shout loud, O Philistia, because of me. The Philistines were like the main enemy against Israel in the time of David. He was always having to fight the Philistines. They were always trying to pick on Israel and beat up on Israel from the time of the judges, and then David's got a whoop on them and stuff like that. The Philistines were a nuisance to and a big threat to Israel. So he says, shout loud, O Philistia, because of me. In other words, what he's saying is, yell all you want, you Philistines. My authority is not going anywhere. You can scream at me, you can holler, you can protest, you can bang your swords against your shields and attack my people. It's not going to change for a second the fact that I am the Lord of Israel, and by the way, of you. You answer to God. So he's exerting his authority here. Now that right there is really good news, okay? By virtue of Christ's victory on the cross, by virtue of his resurrection, he says, all authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth, right? This is what Jesus says after his resurrection. And in Daniel 7, for example, we see that the Son of Man, this Messiah, he comes to reign over the nations, and dominion is given to him that is everlasting, that all peoples may serve him, and everything like that. So, regardless of power changing hands on earth, the victory of Christ is a solid fact that stands above all of history. So however history plays out, the accomplished gospel, the finished work of Christ, is still, even now, the primary factor in all of human events. So as we look at geopolitics that spin out of control at times, and we're in the middle of some of that right now. It's pretty normal in human history, right? And as that happens, then the answer comes roaring back from God. I'm still in control of all of this. All of these people that are working my people over, that are oppressing, that are beating my people, they still have to answer to me, and I will bring justice. So don't forget that. And if you doubt it at some point, if you think, where is God? How could this happen? Essentially, my advice there would be just go to the empty tomb, okay? Look at the resurrection. If that happened, if the tomb is empty, then God wins, all right? So he can claim authority even over people who are claiming authority over us. Jesus accomplished it and proved it.